everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I think this one will be a pretty good one. It's a stream that I think is going to be a good follow-up for the one we had with Space Miner. And before we get into everything, I want to thank everyone who's in chat. Hello, Niels Hans Dynasty, Nickel Stacking, you rumor monger, you Invisible River Ranch, welcome. Space Miner, welcome. Love the stream that we did. Let's see here. Who else do we got here? Long Live Coins. Good to see you. Amy Harrell, good to see you. And did I get everyone? Okay. Metal Matt, welcome. And Magic Moon, welcome. First time I'd ever seen you here, so welcome. Ellie, one of my best mods, thank you for coming. And is that it so far? I think I got everyone, and if I missed anyone, please forgive me in advance. So without further ado, I want to bring up our guest, and as always, before we do, we have to...
In the past, Paul Revere was under instructions to warn us, 1, if by land, 2, if by sea. But that is history. Now we need to know more and move on. Now we have to think about 3, if by air, and 4, if by internet. The British are coming. The British are coming.
And welcome our guest, none other than Ian Everard, owner of Arc Silver Gold Osmium, and the lead person in the Osmium Institute here in the United States. Welcome, Ian.
And hello, Tiger. Thank you for putting the show on.
I appreciate it, especially because we had an interesting talk after the live stream with Space Miner and the subsequent video. I hope everyone enjoyed the live stream and the video last time. I know it got a little sciencey, and some people aren't into science. I'm looking into the possibility of making it a little bit more, how do I say? Maybe break it down in bite-sized chunks for those of you I might have talked over their head. And by all means, if I did talk over your head, I apologize. And I do welcome you all to put everything down in the chat if you want things to be broken down into a little bit more bite-sized pieces, such as how you get partial vacuums and partial pressures, that type of stuff, so that maybe you all can understand some of the basics. And, you know, what seems really simple for me that might not seem simple for you, I'll try to break it down. Because I do realize everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Mine happens to be a love of science and math, but not a love of computers. So I reach out to my brother-in-law, Frostbite, to help me with computer stuff. So as I said, please leave things down in the chat down below, and we'll go from there. So how's your day been, Ian?
I've been cutting firewood and cutting some more firewood. And I took the dogs out and rushed to get back to be on time for you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's mainly for everyone here in the chat, because I understand a good bit of what you're talking about, and other people might too, such as Long Lived and Space Miner and maybe Neil, but some people might not. And the purpose of these videos and these live streams is to continue to go into a deep dive into the statements that were made about osmium being a scam, which my theory is it's not a scam. It's actually a real substance. And I think the word scam was the wrong word. I would think the word more like expensive, maybe quote unquote, not my stacking strategy would have been better words. But I can't change that. But what it did do is it lit me up as a scientist to want to delve into it further with the theory, my theory, that it's not a scam, that it's real, and teach people why it is, what it is, how it is, and let you all make decisions for yourself. So, in a continuation of that endeavor, Ian agreed to come up on panel today, and we would talk about that. So, if you want anyone else to come up on panel, Ian, that's up to you. I was texted by someone else. I told that person that I would ask, because like when they're on panel, I ask them permission before I send the invite to someone else. And I didn't get a chance to ask you because you were chopping wood. So I thought I would try to get your permission if they come up on in chat. If you wanted them in the panel or not, you can text that answer back to me. Anyway, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and before we get into the talk about osmium at the next subject, I want to please put things into perspective. First of which is, whatever your belief structure is in osmium, you're welcome to say whatever you want in chat as long as you are respectful. I support the First Amendment, but I really support respect. So don't be rude. And moderators, if you see rude, time them out for maybe 5 minutes. If they continue to be rude, increase the time that they're timed out. Okay. So Ian is the owner of a really wonderful coin shop, Arc, Silver, Gold, Osmium. In that order. I forgot to turn off the refrigerator. Let me do that next. Ian is the owner of a coin shop, Arc, Silver, Gold, Osmium. In that order. Because that's the order I believe, and it's his shop, he can confirm or refute, that he tells people in which to put their wealth to protect it.
I recommend.
Silver best for bartering, gold better for wealth investment, and osmium for a little bit more wealth investment.
Almost. You're not. Silver ticks pretty well all the boxes. So I would say silver does everything that gold can, except it's not as compact.
I'll give you that. So on that topic, we'll go into this a little bit. Your advice to new stackers, new collectors, is silver first and then go on from there, correct?
Absolutely, or maybe not even go on. For some people, I think silver is possibly the best option, especially if you're on a low budget, small purchases. You can buy as little as $1 for about $3.
Well, that's about true. It's around that price tag.
Yeah, and if you think so, 10 dimes is $1 face. So your 10 dimes are 0.715 tri-ounces of silver. So it's true fractional with a very, very modest premium or no premium at the moment.
That's true. I've even seen where some people are doing a little bit back of spot, but they're also buying a little further back of spot than that.
I did see a very good question up there. I think it was 888. He asked what the average return on Osmium was since the spot has been quoted in, I think, January 2017. I'm sure Space Miner could work that out in a few minutes. That would be awesome. It was running at about 15% on average year on year, but the rate of increase has increased recently. Plus, the dollar has fallen 10% against the euro, and a big part of the spot price is based on the euro.
Has it really gone that bad? Gone that much?
We've lost 10%, I think, this year of the dollar against the euro.
That makes the euro a little stronger.
10% stronger than the relative to the dollar, or yeah,
Wow.
It's not weakening as fast as the dollar. There we go. That's a better way of saying it.
Understood.
Neil's got a good point there. I totally agree. He says silver is fractional gold. Yeah, when you buy silver, you're not buying gold. You're just buying gold at a variable ratio.
Well, I'll give you that. The only other side to it is that silver, being the way it is, it's more volatile. And depending on
it's actually becoming more. It's actually that is changing in the recent price action. It's becoming more stable compared to gold.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. I haven't looked into that.
Well, if you look at the sort of 3-month, 4-month price action, we've just been stair-stepping very nicely.
Okay, I can go find that pretty fast.
I wonder if Space Miner heard me ask him to. Are you listening, Space Miner? Can you work out what the average return to date is, or the total return to date? Roughly January 2017, it was under $600 a gram, and we are over I think we're hovering over 2,400. So it's gone up 400%.
Okay, there it is.
So you see, that's quite a bit of stability, that recent history.
That. In the 3 months. Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah, that's not that unstable, is it? You wouldn't have to have waited long to be up on your spot on your purchase, depending on, obviously the premium varies greatly.
Yeah, how does that compare with gold? Okay, there's a little less ups and downs, a little less volatility, and the gold to silver ratio. Well, there you go. Is now about 86, so it's on its way down. So we might be in the middle of a silver spike that will exceed gold's growth.
At some point soon, we'll get into the really violent price action, where I would anticipate the gold silver ratio will contract, potentially even down to 15-1.
That'll be an interesting time. My concern with the gold to silver ratio is that if it gets to a point where people are going to want to sell their silver in exchange for gold, will there be enough gold in different dealers' inventory to be able to handle that?
Interesting. Space Miner's got the figure there. If we just break back, 17.6% year on year. So that's for 7 years, 8 years nearly. That's pretty darn good, isn't it, as an average?
I'm looking for it. I didn't find it. There you go. Okay.
So for stability to one stack, it's actually been really good.
Well, I've mainly stacked silver, and those of you who know me know what I'm going to say. I think Long Live Coin said the truth there, is that for me, I've been more of a silver stacker than I've been a gold stacker, which I didn't think I would become. But with my hopes and dreams of getting my family out of Ukraine and into America, I will have to have the ability to feed and clothe them until the government gives them the appropriate paperwork to have jobs of their own. So subsequently, I have pushed myself away from the pretty stuff and more towards constitutional, especially the fractional. So I've really pushed towards that. And then after that, then going towards the government bullion, silver eagles and maples and Britannias on the top of my list. So that way I can have a little bit more recognizability if I have to buy food and clothing and other things. But just a little side note, I'm also planning on getting my house completely put on solar with Faraday boxes in case we ever do have an outage, whether it's nature or an invasion or an EMP or a solar flare, so that we can continue on. So that's part of my stacking strategy also, which is the power. And I continue to look for someone to dig. Well diggers in West Virginia, they're not easy to find. Trust me, I've been working at it. But I want to be able to have the
They're
water.
expensive.
Yeah.
It costs around $15,000 to $25,000 to get a well bored here, including the wellhead. But it
might be that expensive or more here because you're dealing with mountains and you're dealing with I'm having no luck finding anyone. And I've been searching for about 1 or 2 years. But if I don't, then I'm going to have to come up with a rainwater gathering system, which worries me because in the winter, things can freeze.
Yeah.
So I have to have a backup plan to unfreeze what is frozen. So that's kind of where I'm at. But, getting back on target. So I agree with you. It looks like there's a lot more stability in silver than there was back about a year ago when I first had to sell. So,
and the bulk, I mean, ideally, the main reason we buy precious metals isn't to day trade or month trade or year trade. It's just occasionally an unforeseen expense comes up, and one might need to dispose of a bit. That's why I think it's useful to have a variety in your stack. Sort of developing, I don't even know what you'd call it, but the 4 W's, and they apply to when you're buying and when you're selling. Why are you buying? What are you buying? When are you buying it? And who are you buying it from? And those apply to selling. Why are you selling? What are you selling? When are you selling? And who are you selling it to? So if you consider those, it leads me to realize that you're better off having a variety, but with an overall eye to keeping your premiums to a minimum.
That's true. And I've experienced more buying in my little career than I have selling. You have, as a professional, you have dealt with buying and selling on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you see more of the price action every day than most of us stackers do. So are you seeing more people buying or selling? Is it more gold?
Now, obviously, we're very anecdotal. We've just come up to our 5th year, so we're still growing quite rapidly. So we're different to an established company. Overall, retail is abysmally bad in the US for dealers. That's why the premiums are so low. In fact, you like you mentioned earlier, you're seeing some people offering 90% back of spot.
Yeah.
So part of the reason we're seeing an increase in depression on premiums is when a wholesaler gets too much inventory, they reach the end of their line of credit and their hedging ability, they will sell to a refiner quite often, but they won't get paid till the product is refined. So they might have to wait 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, depending on how long the delay is for the refiner to get through to their batch. So a lot of wholesalers will sell below the price they'll get from a refiner to a dealer just to shift some inventory. And some of us pass that on.
Yeah, I would assume also someone walked in, you're about ready to send something to the refiner, and someone walks in as a buyer and say, hey, I really like that. You probably sell it to them because you get a little bit more of a profit margin than from the refiner.
I don't sell direct to a refiner. I leave that to the wholesalers. They've got the capacity. They're sending large amounts, so they're getting much better. They're getting much better rates. So I don't get involved in sending it to a refiner. But I psychologically, I don't like the idea of retail silver being turned into 1,000-ounce bars and going into industry and getting consumed. Because all it's going to do is, when human action kicks in and the demand increases, the premiums will skyrocket because there'll be a shortage of material because some of it's been destroyed. When I say destroyed, it's been turned into 1,000-ounce bars and it's gone to industrial users.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. By the way, I wanted to say hello, Kiwi, and thank you for being a member for 2 months. Really appreciate you being here. Now, speaking of members, I'm setting up for our 3-month membership giveaway party. We're in September, so this is the 3rd quarter. So that will be coming up pretty soon. So just a heads up. And what do you think about people refining the 90% silver? I mean, that would take a little bit more effort to turn those into 1,000-ounce bars.
From what I understand, silver and copper are pretty easy, straightforward to separate out. Pretty low melting point. Nothing dramatic there. Or just going to cost a little bit more than just turning, 3.9 or 4.9 silver.
That would make a little bit of sense because the melting point of silver is approximately 1,700, and the melting point of copper is approximately 1,900. So you'd have to stay on the lower side to get the silver separated from the copper. In fact, in my one of my furnaces, I was planning on using nitrogen gas to help me get silver to melt and pour and stay in good standing where it has less imperfections. And I had to tell my handyman, who came with a pipe to pump into the kiln, and said, no, we are not doing copper. Even though I said it multiple times, and I had to pull up the internet and show him how close the melting points are. And I typically take my furnace up to 2,000 to allow me some time, whether I'm pouring directly or I'm doing other techniques. And you're going to have copper just dripping into the kiln. So we went to stainless steel, which has a melting point of approximately 2,500. So I'm 500 degrees under melting point.
Yeah.
And you just got to know a little bit about your science to be able to stay out of trouble, which is part of the reason why we're having this live stream. We wanted to go over, actually Ian wanted to go over some points that he wanted to point out after watching the live stream and the video. One of which was, how dense is your wealth? Of course, obviously, gold is more dense than silver is, and you don't have to have a lot of it to carry a larger amount of wealth. At 76 ounces per 1 ounce of gold, you'd be carrying a lot of weight if you did silver. Now, I did get permission to show my wife's osmium earrings, the little tiny speck of osmium that Ian sold me, which for me, I don't really keep this in my inventory as far as my spreadsheet goes. This for me is at this point an investment in marital investment. And she's a good girl. She tolerates me. God help her. So, and I do plan to get another piece of osmium that will be a necklace that matches. After that, if I get any more, then I'll be getting it for myself. Hey, Frosty, welcome. So, tell me about wealth density in osmium.
Yeah, sure. It's the most wealth dense precious metal in the Osmium Institute crystallized form. We're running around $2.4 million a kilogram, compared to, I think gold is $117,000 a kilo. So if you have a bar like that, you can have many thousands of dollars in a very small, very thin piece.
That's a pretty small package for that amount of money. Really small package. You know, if I had Donald Trump's wealth, I might buy a piece of that big size.
Talking density, you've got to be pretty dense to call something a scam. The Institute has sold over 23,000 pieces worldwide. Laboratories around the world use crystalline osmium to calibrate their test equipment because it's practically the purest element they can get, at minimum 595 pure. And it's recently just been tested independently in France. That's to satisfy the Japanese market, where if you sell anything, you have to have independent proof that you're selling what you say you're selling. It was also fairly recently tested in Portugal at a high-end laboratory independently, and it came out 100% pure. And that's the first time that laboratory has ever tested anything and got 100% result. Everything else they've ever tested had some measurable impurities. So you've got to be very dense to call it a scam and not do any research into what it is, who created it, who brought it to market. That information's all out there. If the person who called it a scam had bothered to contact us, we could have sent him one of these. This was written by Ingo Wolf. It's incredibly well written. It's got pretty well all of the key points. So, yeah, it is definitely not a scam.
Well, by the way, if you ever have extras of those booklets,
I was going to say, if anybody wants one, ping me a text and I will post you one. We just had another batch come in.
I would love to get one. I'm glad you brought this up about the scam versus not a scam. You know, if you look at scams, usually people are hiding behind the internet or a telephone call, you know, and within time, they're usually found out. Notices get posted, you know, people get made aware. And the Osmium Institute's been up. I really have trouble seeing an organization lasting years. So that's one of my non-scientific, just journalistic points of view, that it doesn't make sense.
It's been in the hands of some very inquisitive people. I think Space Miner might correct me, but I think he's actually tried heating it up in acid. I might be mixing it up with someone else, but I think it was Space Miner. It's the sort of thing he would do. And yeah, because he said that's another feature of it. It doesn't dissolve under 400 to 500 centigrade in any acid or mix of acid and alkali or any alkali. Whereas, as far as I know, I think my science is correct, every other element, every other compound, everything on this planet will dissolve.
Yeah, which is an interesting point, because
it is a very interesting facet, making it unforgeable, because if you cheat in any way, you'll be able to dissolve it.
Well, that's an interesting point, because, you know, those of us in the community are very much aware of a scientific YouTuber by the name of Shree Tips, where he pulls off silver, gold in his own house, or maybe backyard shed or wherever. And he's using lots of acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, in a negative pressure environment to, you know, not inhale those nasty acids, which can cause a lot of damage. So one of the things I hear from you, and you've given me this impression, is that no acid will dissolve osmium, especially
Crystalline osmium.
Will it dissolve osmium in the non-crystallized form?
I think you might be correct there as well, because I think that was how the scientists who first isolated it came across it. They had a residue from platinum refining, and they got to a point where they couldn't reduce it. They couldn't dissolve it in anything. So you might be right there.
Yeah, that was one of the scientific questions I wanted to address, because you can use for a lot of other elements, you can use acid and base and change
in a mix. Yeah,
and use chemicals with not as much heat as is seen in Sri Tip's videos to separate it out and then refine it down to a pure enough form that it can be used in the open market.
Another question we should cover, really. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's not liquid." I've only ever had 2 people ask to sell it back. I bought it back on the spot. I paid them the retail price. It was an instant transaction. Now, I wouldn't do that for somebody who's just like day trading or just buying it, watching it go up for a few months and selling it. It needs to be a genuine reason. But as in anything, that any product that people buy from us, we would do our absolute best to make sure they can sell it very quickly.
So I told my wife, I said, if ever comes the day that I'm gone and you need to liquidate and you think you have to sell the osmium, call you, because you'd be the best person to buy it back from. It's similar, and I use this analogy.
Well, and we'll be in competition as Long Live Coins builds up his osmium business, and Space Miner builds up his osmium business, and Barry in Texas builds up his osmium business, and Chris Marcus in Florida builds up his osmium business. We'll be competing. So basically, and we're setting up an open access website where people will be able to advertise their pieces for sale, whether they're the raw pieces or pieces they made into jewelry. So that will be free to list. So we're going to help facilitate that, so people can actually put pictures up of their pieces and put them on the market.
So basically, the osmium people you're teaching, for lack of a better way of saying it, your osmium children.
They'll be competitors.
Yeah. They'll be your osmium competitors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So your sons and maybe daughters are going to be fighting with Papa for the money.
It's just the whole thing about the osmium world is fascinating, and I think we were talking earlier and reflecting back on the 3 years I've been involved in it, nearly 3 years now. I think osmium chooses the owner, not the other way around.
Well, there's a piece of osmium I really want to get, and it's all because of nickel stacking. Nickel loves to create rumors, and he has not listened to anything his mother taught him. So can I get myself an osmium paddle? And I want to use the sharp end on him and bend him over my knee and teach him the values of telling the truth. And so all joking aside, one of the things that you mentioned about the video and subsequent, the live stream and the subsequent video, was you'd mentioned that the crystals that were put in the video, which is
yeah, they were mainly natural crystals. I don't know, how's my lighting? Does that show? You can see how pretty uniform that is. Do excuse the dirt. I've got firewood fingers. You can see how even the crystal size is across that piece.
Oh yeah.
So this makes this useful. It could be cut into different shapes. I mean, they make heart shapes, letters. numbers, letters, uppercase letters. So because of that uniformity, it gives it many, many applications.
That I can understand. You know,
And in the jewelry world, you see, if you're trying to get traditionally, I mean, I took my Osmium watch into a watchmaker in Denver when we were at the symposium, and he looked at it. He said, "Oh, I've got one like that," and he pulled one out, and it was diamonds. And I said, "Let's take them outside in the sunlight." And the diamond one looked so crappy because you just can't get that constellation. And I think Space Miner, he always calls it a constellation. That doesn't do it justice. You see, that's smaller than my fingernail, but you look at the number of reflective points on there, and in sunlight it just dances, and you get blues, you get shades of blue in there as well because it's reflecting the blue wave light from the sunlight, and it just does something that there is no other substitute in jewelry. So a lot of people ask, well, what's its industrial use? Well, the diamond industry, and it is an industry, retail diamond sales are about $80 billion in the US per year.
Oh.
So its main use in the crystalline form is jewelry, but that is an industrial use. And it's different to what most people would consider industrial use, because when it goes into a watch or a pair of earrings, it's staying there.
I wouldn't want it to fall out, not at the prices they come out.
Well, it's staying there. What I mean is the owner will keep it, or it will be sold and it will stay in a piece of jewelry. It will stay in the watch.
Understood.
It won't get broken down and made into something else.
One of my questions is, how well does it stick in the bullets that long-lived coins sells as the primer? You know, I think it's very pretty, but my fear is that it's going to pop out.
So I've built a domino set that had 168 3mm round pieces of osmium in, and I used what's called oily super glue. So it's a cyanoacrylic glue, but unlike the traditional cyanoacrylic, it stays flexible.
Okay.
Zero issues with that. And if you do want to release it, you can soak it in acetone.
Oh wow! Is that what will break down the glue?
That will break down the glue. Yeah. So I've had zero trouble with that. I know some people use epoxy, but you see the back face is pretty smooth. That's the back face.
Well, that seems to fit the analogy I was using about frost forming on the wing of an airplane. The backside on the airplane would be smooth, where the crystals would be coming out of the surface. So, but speaking of that, one of the points you wanted to point out was that I was using the wrong verbiage in the video.
Yeah.
I was calling it a formula, and you were talking that I used the wrong word. It should have been process. And for those of you who don't know the difference, a formula describes what a substance is made of, while a process describes what happens to the substances
or element.
Yeah. So if you're dealing with just straight osmium, it's a process because there's no change of what the element is. But a formula would end up being somewhat of a new chemical, such as taking 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom and turning it into water.
Yeah.
So that was a part that I wanted to point out, that my verbiage was wrong. So I do apologize for saying the wrong thing, and I'll try to make sure I don't do that again. So.
And the process is pretty incredible, and the whole story. I mean, Rolf, the Swiss scientist, got his first sample of raw osmium sponge when he was 16 years old. And it took 40 years before he got it to a stage of crystallization. And then another 10 years to refine it even further to get it uniform enough for the Swiss watchmakers to start using it. So it's an incredible story that one of the smartest scientists in Europe took 50 years, 52 years to get this far.
Understood. Thank you, Long Love Coins, for the $10 super chat. He also has included the phone number for Ian Arc Silver Gold Osmium. So not only please write that down, but you'll also find it in the description below.
And so another key point about the about osmium is, I mean, there's lots of debate how much silver is, how much more we can find, can we increase the supply eventually? Gold, we know, is growing at a faster rate, and it probably will. The production will grow even faster with the price increase. But traditionally, gold has grown 2% a year, compounding for 6,000 years. So gold is going to become more and more common. So the crystalline osmium, originally when I first came across it, the potential was up to 1,000 kilos. That in all of human mining history, they worked out they may eventually be able to get 1,000 kilos of raw osmium and turn it into, one cubic meter, so 22,000 kilos. And at that point, I thought when you calculate out compared to gold and other precious things, was incredibly rare. But fairly recently, for a couple of free factors, they decided to cap the production at 350 kilos. But now that's even going to be reduced down further, because there's a new option to buy the uncrystallized, purified, ethically sourced osmium at a ratio of 50% of the crystalline, but with an option to convert it into crystalline. So for a while, as they sell some of the option, in the non-crystalline form, they won't be able to sell that amount in the crystalline form. So there's going to be less potentially than 350 kilos now. So that makes it even rarer, and that's I find that pretty exciting. So anybody who's got some already, if you started buying it when there could have been 22,000 kilos, and it dropped to 350 kilos. Now we're so there may only ever be 300 kilos produced. And then you take the European family offices who started buying it early on. They've got a few kilos. That will probably stay permanently. It will never be resold, because they're finding it very useful for private, secure transactions, because you can't cheat and there's no one to take a commission. You don't need a bank to prove a transaction. You don't need a cryptocurrency to prove the transaction, record the transaction. You don't need a third party to verify it. You can verify it visually from the database of the Osmium Institute. So it has a potential use that could demand a lot just for high value transactions, or even lower value transactions, which are incorruptible. So that's a potential fascinating use that hasn't moved down the food chain yet. You're just getting multi-million-dollar transactions being done, which can be done with just 3 or 4 of the big discs. So that potential is just huge as well, as a completely trustworthy transaction without not needing a third party.
Wow, that makes it a little more tough. I mean, if you thought it was going to be hard to get, then it's going to be done
Hard
this.
to get. Yeah.
So,
and I probably won't sell my personal pieces ever.
yeah, wow. Good to see you, MR. Good to see you, One Species. I've never seen you before, so welcome to the channel. That brings an interesting issue, because we did talk one-on-one about the security of osmium plus the price action of osmium.
Yeah.
So let's start with the security of osmium, how it's monitored, how it's watched, how you have documentation of ownership.
Yep.
I don't know, I'll shut up from here because this is your baby.
Yeah, sure. So this piece here, I saw on eBay about 4 or 5 months ago. I was looking up something Osmium, and this came up. The algorithm thought I needed to look at this, and I looked at it, and I looked, and it said it came in all the original packaging, but with no OCC, owner change code, and it was undervalued by about $300 at the time. And I thought, you know what? If this is stolen, I don't want it getting sold to somebody else and disappearing, and then somebody's lost it. So I just bought it on the spot. Told the Osmium Institute what I'd done. They put the code into their database. It links to an email, and they email that email. They get no response. They checked their database, and they found out that same email had bought another piece, and they had registered a phone number with another piece they'd bought. So they phoned the phone number and got no response. So they passed the information on to me. I phoned, got no response. So I sent a polite text saying who I was, why I was concerned, why I had bought it. And the guy gives me a ring, and we have a chat. He said, yeah, he'd sold it a while back. So no, everything was fine. It wasn't stolen. So if you want to keep it in its crystalline form, which is the only form it has its value density in, you can't really resell it publicly, because even if you put up a good picture of it, it could get matched to the database and find out who the actual registered owner is. So it makes it very hard to steal. If you do steal it, you're not going to be able to sell it publicly. So, that's a deterrent. Also, another key feature of the database is you can have registered owner and registered keeper. So you could send a piece off for somebody to look after, and they can be the registered keeper, but you're still the registered owner. So they thought very carefully how they built the database out. I don't think there's anything else like it in the precious metals world. So it's unique in that fact that it is unforgeable and no real incentive for somebody to steal it.
So let me ask you this, because when my wife brought her earrings over to show me at my request for this live stream, I said, "Where's your little black box?" It says, "I put it somewhere upstairs." I don't know why she didn't keep it in the little black box, but does it need to stay in the little black box to show ownership?
So thankfully now, if you buy a $25 microscope to put on your iPhone, you can get a good enough picture to match that to the database. If you did, for whatever reason, lose your original code, I'll have a record in my invoice to you with the code of the 2 pieces of Osmium. But if all that went missing, you can still track it down by its unique crystalline appearance that never repeats. In fact, every square millimeter, so that's just that's a 0.7, that pen tip, 0.7, so a little bit bigger than that pen tip. On a high resolution photograph has 10,000 more recognition points than a human fingerprint. So, and that never repeats.
That's interesting.
So even with some very low tech equipment, almost anybody can prove and identify their piece visually.
That's interesting. Really would.
So that could make an incredible. I think Space Miner had the idea that would make an incredible key. You'd only need a tiny piece of Osmium, a 2 millimeter square, and you got more data on that than people on the planet. The way the crystalline structure interacts, and the width and the height and the angles. So it would make an incredibly secure key.
Interesting. So, but what about the price action? We talked about price action.
17, Space Miner worked out on average 17.6% per year since January 2017, and I think he said that was nearly a 300% increase.
Wow. That's
so
pretty...
it's beating silver just. I think I was paying around $17 in 2017 for silver.
That probably is somewhat accurate. And we can go back to... No, I don't think I can.
Another function, and this was one of the things, really, it just hit me, all of the factors when I first saw it. One of the things it could be incredibly useful for, because it's a bridge, it's a crossover between blockchain, crypto, and reality, because it's completely incorruptible. So you could really have, you could tokenize it.
Yep, $17 and change, 2017.
So 3 times be 30, 3 sevens, 20, 50. So when silver's 50 something dollars, it'll have kept up with Osmium.
Hi, Joey Libs. Welcome to the channel. So that's impressive. I didn't get in until 2021, somewhere around mid 2021, and it was around $25-ish plus or minus at that time. And it's almost doubled since that time.
Yeah.
Gold definitely.
So worldwide, the Osmium, crystalline Osmium market is expanding rapidly. They're very interested in Japan and Sweden and Brazil. So my objective is to make sure at least half of it ends up in the US. That's what I would like, to make the US the most vibrant market for it.
Understood. That's just impressive, because to have I thought, we always, those of us who stacked, since 2021, which was when I started, we have almost a doubling of silver. We have almost a doubling of gold. And, I've seen where because my part of my spreadsheet shows how much money I've lost due to premiums, etc. And I was sitting somewhere between 70 and 80%, especially early on. But with the spot price going up just between gold and silver, I'm sitting at plus or minus a 44% gain. Now, granted, I don't really see that as a true gain. I see that as more a devaluing of the dollar and maintaining, because go look at the price of food, gasoline, other commodities that you have to use on a daily basis. It's plus or minus doubled. So you're pretty much just maintaining. So it's very interesting. You're looking at a 300% increase since 2017. So thank you, Base Miner, for doing the math on that.
And this is what Ingo Wolf, the founder of the Osmium Institute, realized when Rolf approached him, and a 20-minute meeting turned into a 6-hour meeting. He realized that this is so rare. It's the 8th precious metal that hasn't been available, because in its sintered form or arc melted beads, they're really just hobbyist. You might eventually get more back for it than you bought it for, but it's not uniform. You can't really use it in jewelry. So Ingo realized that if you bring demand to scarcity, and now absolute scarcity, you'll get good price action. And he was correct.
That makes perfectly good sense. In fact, one of the things I asked you about, because I probably would want to turn this live stream into a video like I did with Space Miner, since you have much better pictures of the processed crystallized osmium and things regarding, where the pieces of the Osmium Institute are in Germany, Switzerland. If I could have pictures of that and I could use that in upcoming videos, I'd be really
Yeah,
grateful.
sure. We can get you. Oh, for whatever reason, my battery's not charging. Excuse me a sec.
No problem. Hey, JM Unleashed, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. See here. JM Unleashed, I mentioned something you'd said before about Japan putting osmium through the ringer to prove it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that was independently tested in France's highest level laboratory. There was zero chance that it would fail the test. And I love what you're doing. You're proposing to do a density test to prove its density, which is great.
I can't wait to do that. In fact, you and I talked about the science of it, which I'm not going to release because I want everyone to enjoy that video. Speaking of videos here, like I said early on, for those of you who haven't heard me say this earlier, I know sometimes I tend to be a little sciencey. I also know sometimes I tend to be a little mathy. And some people who don't like math or don't like science, I want you to feel free to put comments in this video or in this live stream, in the live stream I did with Space Miner, and the video subsequent with Space Miner. If you don't understand anything that I've covered, I've gone over your head, there are certain terms you wanted covered. You know, I'm talking with one of my best buddies about ways that we can break it down for you so that you can go and look at the videos that have been done so far and then understand it. Because my purpose is to do the proof or the disproof of my theory, which is osmium is not a scam. Whether I'm doing scientific or journalistic investigation, it's all with the proof or the disproof, which my theory, once again, is osmium's not a scam. So I really want you to feel free to understand, okay? Because even if you are just talking about silver or maybe gold or maybe copper, you might not understand something. And if you don't understand it, you might not enjoy the video, but more importantly, you might not make a good detailed choice for yourself of, is this metal, no matter what metal, is this metal good for me? Is it part of something I should get invested in? Knowledge is power. And I don't mind breaking it down so all of you can get into it, which is, now, I know Silver Dragon said something wrong, but I will tell you, because he did say some things that weren't quite so accurate, he gave me a lot of reason to do a deep dive. And I'm enjoying the deep dive. So he gave me things to talk about, to investigate, to play with science. Granted, not the high science that the Osmium Institute has, but still science nonetheless. And I get a joy dealing with science, including, and not exclusive to, but including, my wife will walk into the pouring station and she sees me there pouring silver, toning silver, hammering silver. And she's like, this is so boring. I said, no, it's fun. It's science. So I really thank Silver Dragons for giving me something to do. More than straight stacking. He's given me something to do. You can even call it a new hobby if you want. But I'm having the best time with these interviews and what I'm planning on showing you all. So, you know, That way you all understand for yourself what is best for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's you. I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I claim to be. But I do love teaching, and I want you all to know what you're up against. It's all about protecting your family and yourselves financially. So enough on that. I just wanted to say that piece. So one of the things that we talked about was this process leaves you with 5 nines 5 osmium
Minimum.
and it there because of its process pretty much takes out all the impurities. So that's something you don't normally see. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you want to elaborate further on that, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I reread this comprehensive guide the other day, and there's a lot in it, and I'd missed it. But in the process, each atom gets cleaned up to 100 times. So that's part of the process that Rolf has developed to get between 9 nines and 11 nines pure, basically to levels that can't actually be measured. So that is just incredible, because when you every decimal point you move, it gets a lot more expensive. That's why you don't see that many bullion pieces in 4-9. You got the Perth Mint with a kangaroo, and a lot of Perth Mint silver products are 4-9. Royal Canadian Mint, most of their products are 4-9. Germania from Poland. But apart from that, most silver is 3-9. Well, there's a reason for that. It's cheaper just to stop at 3-9. Costs a bit more to get to 4-9. There's a reason why gold coins fairly recently were 3-9, and then they increased to 4-9. And there's a reason why I think only the Royal Canadian Mint do a 5-9 maple. There's a reason, because that costs a lot more. So you imagine purifying the osmium to 9 nines to 11 nines pure before you can even start to boil it.
Wow, that says something.
And to put talking back its scarcity, I mean, here's a 3/4 inch coin disc.
Wow.
Now, somebody ordered that one, and then they just disappeared. And I was not upset, because I think when they ordered it, it was $2,700. Now it's nearly $4,000. But to give an idea of the scarcity, the average coin disc, there's going to be enough osmium to make about 7,000 of those. So wow. you compare that to, I don't know, how many gold eagles are made each year?
Millions.
Might not be millions, but it's going to be hundreds of thousands.
I would assume that you're probably right if I'm wrong.
And every year, and I think it's 25 million silver eagles is in a typical year. So 7,000. If all of the osmium just made these 3/4 inch coin discs, 7,000 of them. How many coin shops are there in the US?
I have no idea, but there's a lot.
Thousands?
I would think so.
Maybe 7,000. So every coin shop could have one of those, and that's it. All the osmium's gone. So most coin dealers, are never going to see it.
Well, I have a feeling that disc is going to be mine, because my buddy Frostbite's going to buy it for me.
I did say I would lend that to you.
You did.
Your density test on either that or maybe this chunky bar, because that's even heavier.
We can just have Frosty just pay the bill. He doesn't mind.
So the desirability and demand is growing. We had some good results from the Osmium Symposium we held in Denver. We had 17 jewelers from across Colorado. Several of them are using Osmium now. We've had a request from the San Diego jewelers collaboratives two in that area and a neighboring one. They want to do an Osmium event. So, it's taking longer in the US than in Europe. But Europe did have a head start because of COVID. The Osmium Institute did hook up with a couple of US guys. I've never heard who they were, but apparently it didn't go very well and they weren't representing it very well. So they broke off with them and didn't come back till towards the end of COVID. But we'll catch up. We're pretty smart in the US. Americans are pretty savvy. They know a good thing. So we need to get at least half of we need to be the biggest market, because that way everybody who's in it is going to prosper, and it will create, it will enable American jewelers to make incredible pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense. Besides, the general premise of our nation has been, and in my opinion, starting to be, we need to be the best, the biggest, the best off. That way, we're, other nations look to us as the shining city on the hill. Granted, it is a personal viewpoint of a lot of people, not everyone. But
your sound is going a bit random.
My sound?
There you go. You're better now.
Okay. Well, basically, I'm coming.
You've gone
in and out. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on. Let's change mics. All right. Has that changed anything?
That's better.
Okay. Well, basically, most of us who love our people in our country and love our country want us to be the best and the well off, and us having the most amount of osmium is certainly a much better thing for everyone, but also as each individual citizen is better off, the whole country is better off. And us stackers, we don't make a large percentage of the population. I think it will change as people realize that what sort of stuff we're into with fiat currency. But, that's going to take a lot of people waking up. I think the last time I looked into it, the stackers make up less than 1% of the U.S. population.
I don't think we actually know. There's a lot of misconception there, because the figure before this 50% price rise was that 0.5% of assets under management were in precious metals. So that's a distortion. If you break that down, it may be 2 or 3% are actually stacking actively or more in the US. But when you count as a percentage of assets under management, it is going to be a tiny fraction of a percent. It is. But that will change. I mean, obviously, silver on the open, we're still over $42, $42.27. Yeah. So silver is stable, gold is stable, platinum is stable. In fact, interesting, on the rolling year, they're almost neck and neck, silver, gold, and platinum. I'm not sure if it feels like that has significance, if they're all moving up. And I know platinum did its move in June, wasn't it? But we only need probably 0.25% of assets under management to try and get into precious metals, and they'll be on Mars, price-wise.
Yeah, it is moving up. I'll bring that up here. Platinum has been growing. We
had that huge jump. Was June, wasn't it? April, May, yeah, May and June.
September 1.
Oh, and I had a client friend.
July.
Client friend. She said she started buying platinum when it was about 800, because she said it's a sleeper metal.
I
And
only have a little bit.
if platinum is a sleeper metal, i.e., being unnoticed, osmium's in a coma. Seriously, because you look, it's 190 tons of platinum is mined each year, and you can't crystallize it into a beautiful form.
No, you can't.
It hasn't got that absolute beauty about it. So tiny bit of awareness in the stacking world when people and if 999 out of 1,000 think, yeah, it's not for me, there's still not enough for 1 in 1,000 to have some.
That's true.
So
For
it's going to move,
plus.
and it will happen so quickly that awareness will kick in, and people will dawdle. They'll think a few days. They'll think, and it'll be gone, or you'll be having to place an order because they will finish crystallizing nearly 350 kilos, maybe 300 kilos by the end of next year, and then they will be cutting and certifying the different pieces according to the market demand. I can see what will happen. The awareness there'll be a big bang, huge big bang of awareness. And then you'll be on a 3, 4, 5, 6 months waiting list or longer.
Makes sense.
To get your piece.
I just bought this is my biggest piece of palladium. Prior to that, I only had 1 gram. And I wanted it not only because I wanted to force myself to watch the market, because I won't if I don't, but it also gives marks in the same thing that you're talking about osmium. When you look at the markets that we've talked about in this live stream, you're talking about an issue where you have growth potential in all the metals that it's actually happening, but if you knew the website, I can pull up the growth chart on osmium. I could show what exactly that looks like.
Yeah, if you could do that'd be great. If you could do the all-time osmium price.
I'm at the keyboard. What is it?
Osmium-preis.com.
Okay. Okay.
And then select all time.
All time.
Down right in the middle of the screen.
Oh, here?
That's it. And then select dollars as well. Right on the left, select USD. You got 1 year. You clicked on there we go.
Wow.
So
there's very little volatility in there, I see.
Upward. And it's taking longer. When Long Lived ordered some hexagons, it took nearly 2 months to get them. So it is taking longer to order larger quantities now.
Yeah, this is approximately when I bought the earrings for the wife.
Yeah.
Minus October of 2024.
And I probably gave you a deal as well, knowing me.
Yeah, you probably did. Feeling bad for the underprivileged. And look at what I'm dealing with now.
I don't think I've ever earned as much as a doctor does.
There's some truth with that, but there's a lot of expenses with being a doctor.
Oh, yeah, you're a high maintenance guy, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, what I have to pay for medical licenses and DEA licenses, and plus they don't pay me as a W-2, so I get no pennies. Every penny I get, I pay out of pocket. So I was paying a little over $2,700 out of pocket for insurance for the wife and myself, with a $3,000 deductible per person. And just recently looked at a different type of Blue Cross, which sounds like it's more government subsidied. I'm kind of wondering if it's because I'm older now, but I'm paying $2,100 less and I'm watching to see how it's going to affect, because, as we're getting older, we have more things falling apart. So did I make a good choice? Did I not? I know in the metals, I woke up just barely in time. I'd have been grateful to have woken up like 10 years ago and started buying back then.
There's plenty of time. I trust Mike Maloney's research, and in his book, The Great Gold Silver Rush, he states the difference between now, and this was written 3 years ago, nearly, I think this part of the book, there's 55 times more currency worldwide.
Yeah,
so the world isn't 55 times richer. Maybe it's 3. Say the world is 3 times richer.
I think you're talking with sarcasm, because that sounds like it's all fiat currency.
No, what I'm saying is, in Mike Maloney's book, and I trust his data, there's 55 times more currency now than it was in 1980. So say the average price of silver was $20. We know it peaked at 50 in 1980. You do the math. So the only reason there should be more currency if the world is genuinely richer. So let's say the world is 3 times richer. So divide 55 by 3. So what's that? 15, 16, 16.
I'm pulling out the calculator.
330, 360s are 18, 30, 48. So yeah, about 16. So there's 16 times more currency than there should be. So the metals should be 16 times more than they were in 1980. And that would give account for the currency debasement. So we haven't started to give account for the currency debasement since 1980. We haven't begun.
So you're saying this is yet another example how the metals are suppressed.
Well, yeah, for a number of reasons: deliberate ignorance, greed. People are doing very well on the stock market, gambling on that. Some people think they're going to retire on Bitcoin. They're going to buy it at 109,000. It's going to go to 1 million.
I don't think so.
But somebody sold them the Bitcoin, so somebody thought, I'd rather have the dollars.
I did a video on cryptos and versus mining stocks or royalty stocks. And I've invested just a little bit in 4 cryptos and plus or minus 5 mining royalty stocks.
You cannot invest in crypto. You gamble.
Give me an alternative word.
Gamble. It's a casino.
I'll go with that.
It's a casino. I mean, you've got Liberty Finance.
I'll give you that. Now, I did that for a reason.
Who runs Liberty Finance?
You tell me.
The crypto platform. And USD1 is now the 5th largest stablecoin. Who runs that?
Well, you're going to tell me the same people?
It's the Trump family.
Okay.
What have they ever done that succeeded? I mean, the guy bankrupted 3 casinos. I thought the house always wins.
I wouldn't know about that because I didn't follow his business life.
That's fact. The house always wins unless it's a Trump casino.
Okay.
So it's a gamble. If you get in on you are just gambling.
Well, I'll tell you why I did it though. A lot of people in our community either don't want to put their money into it, don't have the money put into it. I did it as an experiment to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't put a ton in. I just put some with the plan of releasing the information to the viewers. And I've already released one. I filmed it 2 months ago, but it took me about 2 months to have the freedom to edit it and release it, which I released it not very long ago. I also invested in mining stocks and royalty stocks. It's the only stocks that I felt comfortable enough to look into because it was revolving around precious metals, which is something that I have learned a lot about in these 4 years. But that leads me into those of you who haven't seen that video, please see the video because I want you to see what I see. I'm not telling you to invest. I'm just telling you for your own education, even if you don't want to invest at all, just learn. education is your best chance to get through the upcoming SHTF that's coming. It helps you protect yourselves and your family.
I don't think we are going to have that massive event. It's just going to be a slowly ever increasing financial torture. I'm missing the word. Oh my God, repression, financial repression. It's going to be ever increasing, ever restricting what you can do with your new digital dollar. It's just going to be a slow squeeze.
There might be some truth to that. I just really think that when enough people wake up,
I think people have lost the will to revolt. Well, they might have the will, but they haven't got the means or the energy.
Oh yeah, there's a clip I have from George Carlin that says something like that.
Yeah, and generally, you've either got to be independent enough financially to be able to not go to work and do your revolting, or you've got to have lost everything and have nothing else to lose. Well, then we've got the Trump Gestapo to sort that out, haven't we? We've got the masked, unbadged, unnumbered, anonymous private army. So they'll sort that out. Anybody complains.
I'm not sure that will entirely happen.
It is happening.
You and I have a wonderful agreement to agree to disagree. Which I'm grateful.
What I'm saying is
grateful for.
What I'm saying is it had to get pretty darn bad for the colonialists to revolt against the British ruling empire, and part of that was down to gold and silver, particularly silver, because in 1746 the Crown and Parliament allowed it to happen, started removing the coinage from the colonies. So there wasn't enough currency, which was silver, for transactions for people to pay their taxes. So wealthy businesses couldn't pay their taxes. They had the wealth, but they didn't have the correct coin. And they were foreclosed on, and they lost their businesses. So that was exactly 30 years before the War of Independence. So there's a lag quite often between an event and an ultimate people saying enough is enough. But the problem is a lot of people are just too comfortable. Even people who are paycheck to paycheck, they still got their new car and they got their new sneakers and they got their 72-inch TV and they got their subscriptions and they got their beer and they got their illicit drugs. Some of them, they're too comfortable, even though they're paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
So there's no immediate. So if the bulk of the people are placated, what's the word? It's bread and circus, isn't it? I mean, it's exactly what the Romans did. You keep the people drunk and fed, they're not going to complain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at.
They were really good at keeping the people busy with other things.
Anyway, circling back around, I think there's a huge difference between real physical precious metals and crypto.
Okay.
And you look at the people involved across the board in crypto, most of them are pretty dodgy.
Understood. Yeah, there's some truth with that.
But then again, there's a lot of dodgy people in the precious metals business, isn't there? So, you can't win. You got the any of the big companies that advertise at political rallies, you know they're overcharging.
Well, I've said that about other companies too. Like, if a company needs and or wants to have a celebrity pushing their company, you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to charge ridiculous premiums.
Oh yeah, they're the ones that can give away $2,000 of free silver. Yeah,
they don't give it away.
I know they charge it. They give you a little bit back of what they've overcharged. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's call it what it is. You're actually paying for the celebrity.
Yeah.
But I made that mistake with my very first time out of the gate, bought from American Hartford Gold.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh yeah,
We
oh,
got
I
you.
I
Sorry.
did.
I'm not laughing at you. It's an ironic, strange thing us Brits sometimes do.
Well, I didn't know
When
no
you
better.
feel someone else's pain, you can express it and laugh at it. I know it's strange. I should try not to do it, but yeah, they're
But no,
horrific, aren't they?
I felt every bit of the pain.
Yeah.
And didn't even know it at the time. I thought I did okay, and then my service that I use for internet. You know how they always figure out something about you, so they send you stuff. So
Sure.
I got this
Yeah.
stuff for repeated stuff, advertisements from Many Metals Exchange. I started talking to them, started looking at their website, and the amount of money I got overcharged was astounding.
And Money Metals Exchange used to be a few years back really competitive, but they're pretty pricey now as well.
There's some truth with that too.
They've upped their prices dramatically.
Oh, that's true, but it did teach me a lesson. And then a little time after that, I stumbled into Lynette Zhang as my first YouTube teacher, and saw her on someone else's interview. And this guy asked her quiz question, says, if you get it right, I'll give you this silver Nikolai Tesla coin, which then started me investigating because I love Nikolai Tesla. He's my favorite scientist. And being a Serbian boy, I love the fact that we share a heritage. So I started Googling about this and found out that they were sold by a company called AppMax. I was afraid of them because of American Hartford Gold. So I moved cautiously because I thought they were a scam. Talked to them for a long time and figured out that they were for real and started buying Tesla coins from them. So honestly, early on, it was a real education, including my local pawn shop, who, those of you who want to say poo-poo on pawn shops, please don't. Everyone's different.
You got a great one. You have. She's got a very small spread, hasn't she?
She does. She buys back better than the other coin shops in the area. She sells lower than the other coin shops in the area. So yeah, her spread is much, much better. In fact, I'm toying with the idea of asking her to maybe not only do some more videos with me, but maybe do online something like what we're doing. I agree with you, Frostbite. Mine is not the norm, but she is a very, very good lady, and I can't ask for any better. I mean, this lady, 2 Novembers ago, she bought me a huge birthday cake. She's been good to my wife. She's given me suggestions to get the wife for anniversaries. She's given the wife a heck of good deals for whatever she wanted. She's been absolutely a gem. She's contacted me just to see how I was doing because I wasn't in town for a long time. She really is the bomb, Frosty. So, I can't ask. I mean, it's like having a friend. I would consider her a very good friend, just because she's brought it to that level.
That's the ideal way if you can get that with your metal supplier.
Exactly.
You get preferential treatment all the way around. Then. Yeah.
So let's see. Have we covered everything?
I think so.
Okay.
Just, Osmium is wonderful. It's amazing. I love it. It's not for everybody, and it really cannot be. It can only be for very few. Very few people will hear about it. Even fewer will see a bit, and even fewer will own a piece. So, yeah, it is absolute proven scarcity.
So I want to point out here as we're getting ready to close, as we've talked about Osmium and some of its productivity we did a little bit more of the science with Space Miner. I can't say this enough. Do not try that. Do not try it at home. It's very high-tech stuff. It is very dangerous. Osmium, when it's oxidized,
Osmium tetraoxide is one of the toxic compounds.
Yeah, it will mess up your lungs, maybe to the point of death. So
it attacks your eyes as well.
Oh, that's not so good either. But it could kill you.
Yeah.
So,
but in this form, here we go. Ready? It's completely inert, the most inert anything.
So in that form, it's good. But the point I'm trying to make is, do not try this at home. It took the scientists 40 years to get it to go right, and I'm sure they had lots of mistakes along the way. Do not try this.
Yeah, Rolf nearly died. He did have a major explosion at one point.
See my point, people?
Yeah.
What I want you to do.
One question. Sorry to interrupt, Tiger.
No problem.
A lot of people ask me what's its frequency. So sort of new agey people, and obviously everything does have a frequency. But I would love to know. I wouldn't be surprised if it has like healing properties. And whether it's because it's a density when I got that on my finger.
Okay.
But it feels like it's doing me good. Wouldn't that be awesome if somebody did some research and it's like, oh my gosh, you put that on there and it heals that, like that. Wouldn't that be incredible?
That would be, but there'll be people inventing that as an idea, even if it's not true. I'm not sure if a lot of crystals that people say are healing crystals really are, but
I don't. There's a lot we don't understand, and there's frequencies we haven't measured yet. There's a lot we know diddly squat about this planet. Really, we're just beginning. In our arrogance, we think we know everything, but we know so little.
There's a lot of truth with that. A lot of truth with that. So. Also, what I want you
hang on. Can you pull up Neil's comment there? Neil's got some info.
Hold on.
Osmium does not have one universal frequency. Where did you find that, Neil?
Good question. Neil, could you tell us where you found that?
He could be like me. He soaks up information. He might not have the source to hand. But I need to make some inquiries. I need to talk to some new agey people, find out.
Okay.
But a lot of people have seen it and they're captivated by its appearance. So they presume it has a special frequency or frequencies.
That's funny. But no.
Neil asked Google. Okay. Now, I wonder if that's just osmium in general, crystalline osmium. Because obviously it's in a different atomic arrangement in a crystalline form.
That'd be interesting to find out. But what I also wanted to point out is we're getting close to end. Hold on. Let me put that in there. Oh, okay. I thought Frosty had the link for the frequency. That's where it is on the periodic table.
Oh, here we go. Neil's got some figures. And I presume it's pretty paramagnetic.
No. No, that'd be something to find out.
Well, that looks interesting, Neil, but I can only understand the megahertz bit.
That would be interesting to find out. So if you can find out the where I can look into that a little further.
It's probably the thing that the Osmium Institute haven't looked into because Ingo is very grounded scientist. I might be a bit more open to some of this
Yeah.
Things have healing frequencies, etc.
I'd need a bigger piece to put in a pocket pinger. But anyway, I want you all to please keep in mind the following. Stack the silver.
Absolutely.
If you're get enough that takes care of the family. Stack the gold. Now, some people you don't want to. Some people are straight silver stackers. That's okay too. Okay. Don't get into the other things unless you really want to and you have a good reason and you know what you're doing.
Or it's incredibly low premium. I mean, at the moment, you can get pre-33 gold, St. Gordon's, double, Liberty, double eagles for a lower premium than you can get a gold eagle for. That should be your baseline. If it's cheaper per weight of gold than just a bullion coin, it's good value. So I think you can, you can't. I don't think you'll go wrong with the pre-33 gold in that case. And also, if you can get, especially if you can get good quality, 90%. A lot of the 90% that has been sold is pretty nasty, almost cull. But if you can get nice, crisp quarters and dimes, I think they're incredible value at the moment.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Now, for those of you who might look into pre-33 gold and you're not sure if it's a good buy or not, a real simple thing. Sorry, people, it does involve a little amount of math. You take the dollar that they're asking for, and you divide it by the weight of the pre-33. So if it's a double eagle, I believe it's 0.96 and a couple other digits.
It's near enough 0.97. So
okay.
Close. Yeah.
So you take the dollar figure, divide it by the weight, and that changes it to how many dollars per troy ounce. Then you take that value and compare it to an eagle or a buffalo. And then you're looking at apples to apples. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. Although I will tell you, I lean nowadays way more towards pre-33 gold. Not because I believe that we're going to have confiscation. I actually don't think that's going to happen. But people will recognize the American coinage, whether it's a gold eagle, a gold buffalo. They'll recognize maybe the gold maple. They should also recognize old gold or pre-33 gold. But the biggest reason is it makes me feel closer to my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
He was an incredible grandfather. I loved him dearly. I still do. And when I have something that he used to carry in his pocket, then I just feel a little closer to him. So he's part of the reason I woke up when things were going kaplooey about 4 years ago. And I kept thinking, what's wrong? What's wrong? And so all these memories came back to me about how much the price of cars and houses and food and everything, and things were getting worse. And I was like, man, my grandfather, I remember him mentioning silver dollars and coins being made out of silver. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to start exploring that. And that's when I bought from American Hartford Gold and started visiting my pawn shop. A very bad thing with American Hartford Gold, a very good thing with my pawn shop. So, stack your silver. And if you're so inclined, stack your gold. And then get into other things. I have a small piece of platinum, small piece of palladium, obviously, some small pieces of osmium. That is where I'm at. And I want you all to do what you think is best for you and your family. So, hi, Joseph Lopez. Nice to see you. So if it's okay with you, I'm almost an hour and 43 minutes. If you have other things you want to cover, you got the floor.
No, thank you for everybody for coming. I like Neil's way of saying about be kind. I can't repeat it. if we just be kind and considerate, we can not fall into the way the politicians want us dividing, fighting each other. That way they can stay in power and get more power. So if we don't fight each other, we cooperate with our neighbours, look out for each other, build our own communities, Washington will become irrelevant.
Yeah, well, we need less government.
We do.
And more rights for the people to be maintained. So that's something I've always believed in, because the more governmental power, the less rights that the citizen has. So thank you, Joey Libs. I appreciate your comment. So on that note, I'm thinking about bringing this episode to an end. I want to thank everyone for coming and sharing their Sunday with us. Yes, Ellie, we need a convention of states. I thoroughly believe that. Thank you, Ellie, so much. So on that note, I'll say good night to everyone. I really appreciate you all coming. And I'm going to end with my typical outro. I hope you all stay for it. It was so much fun making it between my brother-in-law and myself. So, night, everyone. Thank you, Ian.
You're welcome.
Come and join the stream. Gold and silver lovers chasing precious dreams. Collectors, stackers, gather round. History in your hand. Old and timeless treasures from every distant land. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Coins and relics, tales untold, whispers from the past. Legends live in ancient gold, memories that last. Through the ages we unite, shining side by side. Silver gleams and golden nights, a never-ending pride. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Coins and relics, tales untold, whispers from the past. Legends live in ancient gold, memories that last. Through the ages we unite, shining side by side. Silver gleams and gold ignites, a never-ending pride. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Coins and relics, tales untold, whispers from the past. Legends live in ancient gold, memories that last. Through the ages we unite, shining side by side. Silver gleams and gold ignites, a never-ending pride. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Through the ages we unite, shining side by side. Silver gleams and gold ignites, a never-ending pride. A never-ending pride. We are many, we are strong. In this journey we belong. From the past the stories shine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Gold and silver, yours and mine. Through the gleams and gold ignites, a never-ending pride.